this week, we find out whether Maruti Suzuki Victoris is the next big bestseller from Maruti stable. We also take a look at the fresh updates on the Yezdi Roadster model. Hello and welcome to Overdrive. I am Soni. Maruti Suzuki have recently launched their very new mid-size SUV that sits below the Grand Vitara and will be exclusively sold via the Arena dealership. Now, this sits at a very attractive price point between 10.55 to 19.99 lakh rupees ex-showroom. It also comes with a host of interesting features and engine options. Tuhin will bring you more details.
Now, Maruti Suzuki is used to dominating pretty much every segment it enters. Now, with the C-SUV segment, that hasn't quite been the case. Yes, the Grand Vitara is a strong seller, but with the new Victoris, Maruti Suzuki is looking to unlock the full potential of its network. But before that, how is this car to drive actually, which is what we're finding out today. The blocky look that Maruti Suzuki debuted with the Brezza has been extended here to create an arena theme, so to speak. So you have a smart face with the segmented lighting, big air dams and flat simple lines that give the Victoris a reserved but still modern look. In profile, you have quite a long estate-like glass area with a slightly sloping roof, which gives the impression of the Victoris being longer than it is. There is a good 210 mm of ground clearance, but we do wish the 17-inch wheels filled out the wheel wells better. The most striking design element is probably the full-width lighting at the rear. This will remind you of some more expensive cars, but it draws attention and makes this SUV look wider than it is. Now the Victoris gets a power tailgate, which is obviously pretty helpful. And this is the hybrid variant, but Maruti Suzuki has sort of rearranged the way it packs in space here. So you have a fully flat floor. Now it's still about 300 liters. We don't have the full specs yet. But as you can see, you can, if you are a bit clever, pack a fair bit even in this space. So it's quite a deep space. So lengthwise, you can pack these 3 trolleys, maybe even a 4th one. I've put a backpack. So in that respect, it's good. Other than that, you also get 12-volt power outlet here and the lights that you find in pretty much every Maruti car. And there's also a subwoofer here for that Infinity audio system. But one area of concern with all variants of the Victoris, not just the hybrid, is that you don't get a spare wheel. Yes, you do get a tire inflator kit and a tool kit. But as you can see, there's no spare wheel, which in our conditions is going to be something you have to be very careful with. All versions other than the CNG variant have a provision for this though, with the spare being available at an added cost. Now when you step inside the Victoris, you do get the sense that this is a slightly more premium, a bit more upmarket feeling car than what Maruti Suzuki have had in the past with the Grand Vitara. And that is down to start with the general design of it, where you have this more modern, horizontal kind of theme to it. It's not like a waterfall design like how the Grand Vitara had. I also like the fact that they haven't gone with chrome or a lot of gloss black. Instead, they've used this kind of bronzed finish, which goes quite well. The ambient lighting inlaid in the dash is a nice touch, but again is restrained in the usual Maruti way. You notice more scratchy plastics in the lower reaches of the dash and some flecks in the door trim, but everything has been screwed in place consistently. I do really like how this new steering wheel is. I think it's one of the more premium bits of trim that Maruti Suzuki has added in a while. They do their steering wheels well, and this sort of takes it up a notch. I do like the new seats that have been added in this Victoris. Now they are ventilated, but slight flaw in them, or just an oddity in them, is that this middle section here is fabric. So what that means is that this part doesn't cool that well. So on a very hot day, that might be a bit of a problem where only these bits cool the best. But they are supportive, so that always helps. You now get a fully digital instrument cluster for the first time in a Maruti Suzuki. This 10.25-inch screen may not be the brightest, but it is especially simple to navigate on the move. You have loads of information, it's easily configurable, and you also get turn-by-turn navigation updates from your phone projection, which is quite helpful. This makes the head-up display somewhat redundant, but it's a convenience that you get used to quickly enough. You also have a new touchscreen interface. It's still the same 10.1-inch size, but the bezels are smaller and the interface is more intuitive and fluid. A widget-based layout makes most functions easier to access than before. A good addition is that of inbuilt navigation and a wider range of connected features. Here's a look at all the features that you get with the Victoris. Oddly, the top spec hybrid variant misses out on some important features like an electronic parking brake, paddle shifters and ADAS. The Victoris is 5-star rated for both Bharat and global NCAP, so Maruti Suzuki has been working hard to put to rest the bad rep it has received on its car's safety credentials in the past. To this end, the Victoris is also the first Maruti Suzuki car to get ADAS. The system seems to have been tuned well for our conditions and isn't especially intrusive. It's also good that there are hard, easy shortcut buttons to turn off the systems quickly when you don't need them. Now the Victoris continues to be that same 2600mm wheelbase as the Grand Vitara, so it's no surprise that from the backseat things have not changed all that much, which also means that this is not the most spacious second row that you will find in this segment. So you will notice that for my height, I'm about 5'6", 5'7". It's enough with the seat set to my driving position. So I have a decent amount of space in terms of my legroom and even to tuck my feet in. The seat is placed reasonably high. So even if you're under 6 feet tall, headroom is going to be an issue. I only have about this much. And I also noticed that while the rest of the cabin has been improved, they could have worked on improving the headline edge, that sort of this material which doesn't quite sit very well. The panoramic sunroof adds a spacious feeling, especially with the all-black color option, and the shade is a better quality now too. You do get more equipment like the 2 Type-C chargers and a small storage cubby, even though the rear door pockets could be larger.
Well, as I mentioned before, the Maruti Suzuki Victoris comes with multiple engine options. Stick around to know more after this short break. Welcome back, you're watching Overdrive. Is the Maruti Suzuki Victoris set to be the next big bestseller from the brand? Well, it might as well be, because it offers you a host of engine options from hybrid to petrol to CNG, as well as an all-wheel drive variant. Let's hear more.
The hybrid system is derived from the Grand Vitara and makes 92 PS and 122 Nm from the petrol motor and 80 PS and 141 Nm from the electric one, paired with an eCVT. You then have that nearly unbelievable 28.65 kmpl efficiency figure. Now, as you might expect, driving this strong hybrid Maruti Suzuki Victoris is quite a familiar experience. It's not very different to drive from the Grand Vitara or the Hyryder, but I must say that one point where there has been some improvement to start with is the refinement. You don't have as much vibrations or rattles filtering into the cabin, so it does immediately give the experience a slightly more premium feel. The NVH improvements have come due to changes made to strengthen the body structure. These improvements are noticeable but still haven't got the Victoris to par with some ICE powertrains in this segment. Now, coming to the way this hybrid system functions, it's very natural. There's nothing really for you to get used to. So if you have enough charge in your system, you can more or less coast on the highway using mostly electric power, or a lot of the low-speed crawling in traffic happens on electric power. And the switchover is very seamless, very linear. With the improved refinement, you seem to notice it a bit less. As its powertrain might suggest, the Victoris works best when driven calmly. The steering is light and easy at city speeds, but it does call for some guesswork at higher speeds. It's not the most direct and doesn't seem to add a lot of feedback. The top hybrid variant is 70 kg heavier than the equivalent naturally aspirated version, which does mean that Maruti Suzuki has had to draw a fine line between plushness and control here. You notice the weight, and the hybrid rolls more apparently around tighter bends. Just like the powertrain, it's best when you dial down your excitement from behind the wheel. But yeah, this powertrain is not for you if you're an enthusiast, because the way it delivers power is very functional and efficient. So you will notice that while at middling speeds like we are in right now, say 50, 60, 70, it's very adept at keeping up with traffic and giving you that sense of momentum. When you want to push on for an overtake, you do realize that it gets a bit noisy, and there's really not that shove that you get from, say, a diesel or a turbo petrol that you might otherwise pick at this price point. Now, in terms of how the Victoris rides, I have to say that feels solid and well put together at all times. It feels like it can take a beating, and really it has a plush, calm ride at most times, which you will enjoy. So at higher speeds, it handles potholes, even slightly bigger ones, very confidently. You can just drive over them without slowing down. As you can see, these expansion joints, it takes them very steadily, very focused. Yes, at certain times at lower speeds over some really bad stuff, you do have a slightly sharp edge and you're not completely cocooned from what's happening outside, but really. In the larger scheme of things, this is a comfortable car. For many of you, the added cost of the hybrid probably will not make too much sense, which means that the mild hybrid naturally aspirated 103 PS and 139 Nm 1.5 litre petrol with the 6-speed torque converter could be all the car you need. Now the outputs can seem underwhelming, but the Victoris is only 1225 kgs in this form, which means the performance is adequate and you still get a good 21.06 kmpl efficiency number. The Maruti Suzuki also gets an all-wheel drive variant with this engine, which we drove on a prepared off-road course. This wasn't an especially challenging track, but we did get a demonstration of the all-grip AWD system in its various modes. In the lock mode, it is quite capable and will get you out of a tight situation if you find yourself in one. Momentum is key given the low power outputs, but the Victoris has a fairly competent traction control system and a tough but light chassis that helps it in the rough stuff. Although for truly serious off-roading, you will need something with the 4x4 and a transfer case. I'm now driving the naturally aspirated mild hybrid variant of the Victoris, and this one could very well be a great default choice. To start with, it's quite a peppy engine, so off the line, yes, you don't have that electric kind of performance, but you have that crisp, clean power delivery that you usually have with these Maruti Suzuki engines, so all that's there. It's not the most rev-happy motor of its kind, especially with this gearbox, but you do feel that the powertrain is focused on giving you as smooth an experience as possible. Yes, it could be more refined and it takes a while for it to get to high speeds, but it does so in a predictable and fluid manner that will be good for the everyday driver. The Aisin gearbox is usually offensive. The shifts are soft and well timed and don't seem too focused on efficiency. You always seem to be in the power band, and if you do want to speed things up, the manual mode does let you do that to an extent, although it usually avoids getting anywhere near the red line in this mode too. The mild hybrid system too seems to give you just that touch of assistance to smoothen everything out. Yes, you do notice that the higher you go, it struggles and it has to keep downshifting and so on to really give you the kind of performance that you want, but you don't feel completely outgunned. So if you're looking for a calm, comfortable entry-level C-segment SUV, then this could be a really great buy. And generally the car, because it's a bit lighter and because it's not carrying around all the batteries and the heavy CVTs and so on, it just feels a bit more agile, a bit more cohesive, a bit nimbler in every sense. Now while the strong hybrid by itself is quite a plush car, this feels slightly plusher, a bit better. It feels a bit lighter on its feet in a good way. Its body movements are a bit more refined. With prices topping out at Rs 19.98 lakh for the hybrid Victoris is especially efficient, has a modern interior and is potent enough to make it one of the more logical everyday SUVs you can buy in this segment. But the top naturally aspirated AT version could be the sweet spot at 17.77 lakh. While the back seat is a bit tight in both and this engine is less quick and nowhere near as efficient, it could be the one for you if you aren't going to rack up a load of mileage. The lighter cabin, better dynamics and longer features list sweeten the deal. The top AWD variant, priced Rs 19.22 lakh, also seems worth the upgrade if you want that added layer of capability.
Well, it's time to head into our final break here on the show, but don't go anywhere because on the other side, we will tell you all about the updated Yezdi Roadster. Welcome back here with us on Overdrive. The Yezdi Roadster gets an update for 2025 from performance to comfort, design. Here's everything you need to know about it.
The Yezdi Roadster has been on the receiving end of a couple of updates for 2025, mostly to do with the engine. That's the new Alpha 2 series engine. We've seen it before, powering the Yezdi Adventure, and prior to that, the Java 350. While the front of the bike may be reminiscent of what we've already seen in the past, well, the rear, that is all new because there's a different swing arm, the suspension is all new, and of course, new fender and a slightly chunkier rear tire to match as well. So, what does this bike have to offer? We are about to find out. When it comes to the looks department, you have an 18-inch wheel at the front, 17-inch at the rear, alloys of course. Disc brakes at both ends. This model gets steel belt tires at both ends. And telescopic fork looks beefy. The rake angle has changed now. It is slightly sharper than before. And of course, with the new engine, it is liquid cooled. So you do have the radiator up here as well. Now, that is your ignition. In a decent spot, very old school, different suspension. This is slightly on the stiffer side, of course. The twin P-shooter exhaust, well, they have cheated a bit because they have removed the decibel killers on this particular model, so it is sounding a lot boomy. I'll get to that in a bit. The new twin springs at the rear, these are slightly on the stiffer side as I mentioned before, but the good thing is you do have the option of adjusting the preload and you can do it manually without the use of tools, so that's pretty nifty. Now when it comes to your seating position, the seat height is at a decent 795 mm. So shorter riders will quite fancy this one as well. And the seat, well, they have changed the density of the foam as well, so that's a lot better. It has improved in true roadster form. Quite a flattish handlebar. This is a hydroform bar because you can see the slightly puffed out patches on the bend section here. This is a hydroform bar, so in the event that you do have a fall or some mishap happens, well, the bar is not going to bend as easily because it has strengthened rigidity wise. Now, something that I didn't quite fancy on the bike from before, which has been carried over onto this model as well, is that reverse LCD. Now, it's a pain. It's a real task to really configure things on the go in the sun. You can barely make out anything, any of the readouts. And although there are a decent amount of them, you have switchgear like this. You have mode and select and up and down arrows as well. But pretty much just the mode button works. Now you have a ride mode configurator on this one where you can switch between city and power modes. Long press the M button, well, you'll see that power indication lighting up. That means you have access to all the power that this motorcycle has to offer, which is a good 29.5 PS of max power and little over 29.5 Nm of max torque as well. So it's spread out very nicely across the band because once you actually get down to riding it, you can hold onto gears nicely, longer, harder, ride faster. That's the mode you want to essentially be in. But thank you to, well, emissions norms for that, because that is why that mode is on there in the first place. When it comes to ride and handling, now this is something that we noticed with the earlier models as well. With this new chassis, the engine setup, the Alpha 2, well, this chassis is a lot more agile than it ever was before, and with that, this motorcycle has just improved just so much more than the earlier model. The riding position, you will be assuming in true roadster form, quite a flat handlebar, not as flat as the one with the top version because that is even flatter than this. So hands forward, widespread, foot position slightly forward set, which is quite comfortable on the go. You can spend a decent amount of time in the saddle, as I found out today, around 5 hours on the go. And it worked out pretty nicely. Even this new engine, what it has done for the bike is, of course, it is a lot smoother, it revs a lot better, much cleaner, more linear in power delivery, and it comes mated to a 6-speed gearbox. But yes, now this is the same engine that we've seen powering stuff like the Yezdi Adventure, the Java 350 and the Java 42FJ. So yeah, low down the power band, as I found out, very nice indeed. The gearbox as well spread out. First and second gears are a bit short, but third gear is very peaceful for the city. Out on the highway, fourth, fifth, sixth, well, you still have a good amount of juice to pull you through. But yes, you will notice that around 4000 RPM, that's when the vibrations really set into the bars. If you're more enthusiastic in your riding style, you'll really appreciate the amount of power and torque this bike delivers as you ring it through the gears, because it pulls away nice and clean and it feels a bit vibey and gruff as well. As it should, given its, roadster theme. But yes, there will be days when you want to take it easy with the occasional tap into the bike's performance. And the engine, well, it feels at its lively best past 4000 RPM and best around 6000 RPM. But that's when the vibrations on the bars really kick in. And I'm not sure many would really appreciate this on a daily ride basis, because even at a speed of 60 kmph in 6th, at 4000 RPM, well, it can be a buzzy affair. Even more so down an open highway at 100 km per hour at 6000 revs. And also, the absence of DB killers on this bike, riding up here could have definitely enhanced the overall ride experience a bit. And I'm not just talking about some throatier acoustics. Now, the tail section, that's where most of, well, the work has gone into this motorcycle. They seem to have ironed out some bumps that they have gotten from the customer feedback. It looks quite nice, and also the fit and finish has definitely improved. Now, Mahindra four-wheelers have taken over the paint duties, the painting duties of these classic Legends vehicles, and it goes to show because the quality of paint has improved, the level of fit and finish has improved. Small details like even the small insignias all around, the sticker work has improved as well. The wells are a lot better than before. That is what I'm really happy to report. And yes, overall it is a much better rounded product. When it comes to the pricing, now that is another aspect that Yezdi seem to have benefited from with the current or the latest GST slab, because, well, this model, the Roadster, well, its prices begin at 1,94,000 rupees for the base variant and go up all the way to 2,08,000 rupees for the top spec version with the flatter handlebar and some features on there and a tidier tail section, LED blinkers included. And also Yezdi have stated that they have also improved and their sales and service network, because from 270 sales and service outlets that were there before, they have worked their way up to around 400 as of now, and by December they claim to, well, they say they're going to reach 500 or cross that barrier or that mark. With the updates, this Yezdi Roadster still continues to dish out a healthy dose of performance and agility. With the Roadster's cost being on the higher side, the road ahead could still prove tricky for the likes of this bike and what it offers as an overall package. So yes, there is still some room for improvement currently with the Roadster in its current form, and I don't just mean around the handlebar area.
With that, it's a wrap on this week's edition of Overdrive. But remember, you can stay in touch with the team through our various social media platforms. You can write to us on YouTube as well. We'll see you next week. Until then, goodbye. Many thanks for watching. Drive and ride safe.